Since the provided document 1.txt is empty, I'll assume you want me to create a fictional story from scratch, adhering to your requirements. A 7,000-character story in natural American English, with deep and engaging phrasing, 100% correct grammar and spelling, changed names, locations, and time, a gripping and controversial plot with high stakes and drama, and thought-provoking questions at the end to spark audience interaction. The story will be a single, uninterrupted narrative designed to captivate and provoke discussion. In the humid summer of 1998, the small coastal town of Port Haven, Oregon, buzzed with the kind of restless energy that only comes when secrets fester beneath the surface. The town, perched on cliffs overlooking the Pacific, was a place where everyone knew each other's business or thought they did. Fishermen hauled their catches at dawn, retirees swapped gossip at the diner, and kids like 17-year-old Ethan Carver dreamed of escaping to anywhere but here. Ethan was a lanky kid with sharp eyes and a sharper tongue, always scribbling in his notebook, piecing together stories he hoped would one day get him out of Port Haven. But what he uncovered that summer wasn't just a story, it was a truth that would tear the town apart. Ethan's best friend, Mia Torres, was the opposite of him, bold, fearless, with a laugh that could light up the gloomiest days. She worked at her dad's auto shop, grease smudged on her cheeks, dreaming of studying marine biology far from the town's suffocating grip. The two of them spent their evenings at the old lighthouse, a crumbling relic on the edge of town, where they talk about life beyond the horizon. It was there on a foggy July night that Mia told Ethan about the rumor she'd overheard at the shop. "You know that fancy tech startup that moved into the old cannery last year?" she said, her voice low. "People are saying it's not what it seems. Like they're not just building apps. They're doing experiments." Ethan rolled his eyes. Port Haven loved its conspiracies, aliens in the woods, ghosts in the harbor. But Mia wasn't one to chase nonsense. She leaned closer, her dark eyes glinting. "I heard my dad talking to some guy who works there. He said they've got labs underground." Ethan. "Labs. And people workers shave, gone missing." Ethan's skepticism wavered. The startup, called Next Gen Solutions, had arrived with promises of jobs and progress. But it kept to itself, its sleek offices guarded by security cameras and stern-faced men in suits. The townsfolk were happy to take the money and ask no questions. But Mia wasn't like that. She wanted answers. The next day, Ethan and Mia hatched a plan. They'd sneak into the cannery after dark, just to see what was really going on. It was a reckless idea, but the thrill of a chance to uncover something real lit a fire in Ethan's chest. That night, under a moonless sky, they crept through the woods behind the cannery, hearts pounding. The building loomed like a fortress, its windows dark, the hum of machinery vibrating through the ground. Mia, ever the daredevil, found a rusted side door and jimmied it open with a crowbar from her dad's shop. Inside, the air was cold and sterile, the corridors lined with locked doors and flickering fluorescent lights. They moved silently, guided by Mia's flashlight, until they reached a stairwell marked "Authorized Personnel Only." Ethan's gut screamed at him to turn back, but Mia was already descending, her footsteps echoing. At the bottom was a heavy steel door, slightly ajar. Beyond it, they found a lab straight out of a sci-fi movie. Glass vials, computer screens, and a faint chemical smell that made Ethan's head spin. But what stopped them cold was the sound of a low, guttural moan coming from a locked room nearby. Mia's hand trembled as she pushed the door open. Inside, strapped to a table, was a man Ethan recognized, Tom Heller, a fisherman who'd vanished months ago. His eyes were wide with terror, his body connected to tubes and wires. Before they could process it, a voice cut through the silence. "You shouldn't be here." They spun to see a woman in a lab coat, her face calm but her eyes cold. Dr. Helen Voss, NextGen's lead scientist, was a stranger to Port Haven, a woman who kept to herself and spoke to no one. "This is for the greater good," she said, stepping closer. "You can't understand what's at stake." Mia didn't hesitate. She grabbed Ethan's arm and bolted, dragging him back through the corridors as alarms blared. They burst out into the night, running until their lungs burned, collapsing in the woods. Ethan's mind raced. What were they doing to Tom? What kind of greater good justified that? Mia, panting, made a decision that would change everything. "We're telling everyone," she said. "The whole town needs to know." The next morning, Ethan and Mia went to the local newspaper, a tiny operation run by grizzled editor Clara Dunn. Clara listened, her face unreadable, then agreed to publish their story. By evening, the article was out, plastered across Port Haven's only newsstand. NextGen's Dark Secret. Human experiments in our town. The reaction was immediate and explosive. Townsfolk gathered in the square, some outraged, others skeptical, many terrified. NextGen issued a statement denying everything, calling the story a vicious lie spread by reckless kids. But the damage was done. Protests erupted outside the cannery, and whispers of lawsuits and investigations filled the air. Ethan thought they'd won. He thought the truth would set Port Haven free. But truth, he learned, has a price. 2 nights later, Mia vanished. Her dad found her room empty, her window open, no trace of where she'd gone. Ethan was devastated, guilt gnawing at him. Had NextGen taken her? Was she being punished for what they'd done? The town turned on him, too. Some called him a liar, others a troublemaker who'd cost them jobs. NextGen's influence ran deep too deep. The police, suspiciously quick to dismiss Mia's disappearance as a runaway case, refused to investigate the cannery. Clara, the editor, was pressured to retract the story, her paper on the brink of bankruptcy. Ethan refused to give up. He spent weeks digging, talking to anyone who'd listen, piecing together fragments of the truth. He learned Tom Heller wasn't the only one others had disappeared, their names erased from public record. He found whispers of NextGen's real work, not apps, but experiments in human augmentation, funded by shadowy government contracts. The deeper he went, the more dangerous it became. Late-night phone calls with no one on the line. A black SUV tailing him through town. And then, a note slipped under his door. "Stop, or you're next." The climax came on a stormy August night, when Ethan returned to the lighthouse, the place where it all began. He didn't expect to find Mia there, but she was pale, trembling, her eyes haunted. "They let me go," she whispered, "but only to warn you. They'll destroy anyone who keeps digging." She told him what she'd seen in the labs. People altered, their minds and bodies twisted, all in the name of progress. "They're not just a company, Ethan. They're untouchable." Mia begged him to stop, to leave Port Haven and never look back. But Ethan couldn't. The truth was all he had left. He published everything online, a desperate final act, naming names, exposing NextGen's horrors. The post spread like wildfire, picked up by national outlets, sparking outrage and investigations. But NextGen vanished overnight, the cannery abandoned, its records gone. Ethan became a hero to some, a pariah to others. Mia left town, unable to stay in a place that had betrayed her. Ethan stayed, haunted by the cost of his obsession, wondering if he'd made a difference or just broken everything. Port Haven never recovered. The jobs dried up, the town divided, its trust shattered. Ethan still writes, but his stories are different now, darker, heavier. He wonders if the truth was worth it. Did he save anyone, or did he just light a match and watch it burn? What do you think? Was Ethan right to expose NextGen, even if it cost him everything? Should Mia have stayed silent to protect herself? If you found a truth that could destroy your town, would you speak out or stay quiet? And who do you think NextGen really was, just a company or something bigger? Share your thoughts below, hit that like button, and subscribe for more stories that make you question everything.